professionals. That was quite a description of a group of young people that really want to do something about this city and this country. You know, this is a great evening. You can have a certain amount of fun with average and otherwise in this magnificent room when New York was strong and confident. And it's great being here. I appreciate the opportunity. But I have to tell you, as you all know, this is a troubling time for America, troubling time for the world. The objective facts are pretty clear and can't be hidden. We in the United States have the most difficult economic circumstances since World War II, and you can make the same statement for almost all other developed world. We know about the strains in the national budget, we know about the strains in the state budget, the local budget. It's not just New York, it's all over the country. The great problems in the international monetary system, I wrote international monetary system here. It's hard to call what's going on in the world monetary affairs a system, but there we are. At the same time, in another area, we have unresolved military conflicts, we have political unrest and uncertainty in the Middle East. We have the festering sore of the Palestinian-Israeli situation. It only seems to get more painful over time. And now we have the tensions on the Korean Peninsula, which we can feel reach a breaking point. So if ever there was a need for clear-headed, confident leadership, nationally and internationally, that time is now. You know, for more than 50 years, and at my age, I can look back 50 years, we became accustomed to the fact that it was the United States that was looked to as the model for a stable, democratic political system. In times of peril, financial, economic, or political, public opinion around the world and international markets look to the United States. They look to the United States for security and for leadership. I don't think that's a matter of national pride or choice. If we look today, where else can the leadership come from? From Europe, totally preoccupied with creating and maintaining its union, and now some risk of not holding the common currency together. From Japan, for years we thought of that as the second largest economy, growing rapidly, a threat to our economic supremacy. But look at it today, caught up in 2 decades of economic stagnation and political uncertainty. Now, of course, there's China, and there's India. Together they have more than 1/3 of the world's population. And they are enjoying unprecedented economic growth. And if anybody's been reading the press recently, you know that they've been gaining political influence. And they're no longer bashful about using it. I think it's also fair to say that neither appears ready for constructive leadership of an unruly world. In fact, they both face very complicated issues at home. So here we are, the time is gone when the United States could lay claim as the putative world superpower with most unchallenged economic and military might. But this is not 1950, it's not 1990. Our influence has declined, even among our friends. No matter how much we spend on national security or the number of our aircraft carriers, that influence is in jeopardy. The growing sense around much of the world is that we have lost both relative economic strength and, more important, we've lost a coherent, successful governing model to be emulated by the rest of the world. Instead, we're faced with broken financial markets, underperformance of our economy, and a fractious political climate. I read that word fractious, I'm not quite sure what it means, but it may be an understatement of our political climate. The growing question as to whether the exceptional role of the dollar can be maintained. And that's one symptom of the problem. Now, John Gardner, concerned as he was at the performance of the American society, and particularly the political system, could hardly have imagined the strident divisiveness of our political life, the enormous role of money in the electoral process, the concentrated distribution of income, and the amount of shady dealings and outright corruption in public life and in financial markets. Maybe it's no longer so surprising, but it's certainly indicative that respected opinion polls year after year indicate that only 20% or so of the American people respond affirmatively to a simple question. Do you have confidence that our government will do the right thing most of the time? Like 51%, I guess. The answer is 20% answer that affirmatively. Now consider some of the obvious symptoms, the kind of things that Common Cause has typically been worried about. Consider how long it takes for a new administration to get its own people nominated and confirmed. I was struck in the midst of this great financial crisis. President Obama was elected in November of 2008. He was inaugurated in 2009. He did not have an Undersecretary of the Treasury until the summer of 2010. There is something the matter with a system that cannot fill key public offices over that span of time, in a very critical time. Same period, the lobbying industry seems to have expanded exponentially. I'm told there were at least 4 lobbyists for every member of Congress during the discussion leading up to the financial reform bill. The budgeting process seems to have lost a sense of discipline, whether at the federal or state levels. It remains to be seen whether the present crisis will induce effective action. And I have to say the civil service itself has lost attractiveness for the best and the brightest, frustrated by the drumbeat of criticism the government doesn't work. Now, I know all of you concerned about the problems of government could easily add to that list. I know you're concerned with a major problem of the amount of gerrymandering that goes on in this state and right around the country, which makes it very difficult to even vote for change in the Senate, and particularly the House of Representatives. There's just a healthy skepticism around the United States generally, but that healthy skepticism has turned into a kind of corrosive cynicism. It's just incompatible with civic pride in America's role in a difficult world. Now, boy, I recognize that's a gloomy setting for a dinner celebrating Common Cause generally and Dick Ravitch in particular. But I say so because I think there's a connection. We need, in my judgment, to recognize that the dissatisfaction with government, while seemingly oblivious to many successful and well-administrated programs, has its roots in poor performance, ethical breaches, and too often outright corruption in our governmental processes. I don't want to add to a sense of foreboding or gloom, but I do want to reinforce something your presence here tonight represents. We need Common Cause. We need the Council of Urban Professionals. We need other organizations that are willing and able to lead the case for reform, to encourage and to extend the sense of civic engagement that's characterized this nation from its earliest days. And I was struck when I opened up the program at dinner, reading these comments by John Gardner. We must bring about a renaissance in politics. We must make it possible for our ablest, most gifted individuals to be active in that part of our national men and women of the greatest integrity, character, and courage should turn to public life as a natural duty and as a natural outlet for their talents. Does that seem inordinately ambitious? It is. There's no time for small plans. Written by John Gardner in 1970, 40 years ago. But if there's any time when those words would resonate even more strongly, it's now. You know, at a very personal level, Dick Ravitch exemplifies civic commitment. I know of no one who, growing up in the private sector, building those buildings that you just saw pictured, consorting with leaders, has felt a stronger sense of responsibility for, and importantly, a sense of satisfaction in public service. Now, I think it can't be a secret that his current experience in answering the call to take part in a state government in distress has its frustrations. But somehow that experience has not changed one bit his sense of the importance of public service and the responsibility of qualified citizens not just to complain and criticize, but to serve and to do better. Like I say, Bob, I think the right slogan for tonight is, Richard Ravitch rocks. So let me conclude on a hopeful note. I think he's rooted in the historical experience of this country. We do face daunting challenges here at home. We can't escape responsibility for leadership in a troubled world, even if that leadership today must be more widely shared. But effectiveness will require a sense of renewed confidence and hope that we can find ways and means of restoring a sound economy, of maintaining effective health services and Social Security, and indeed the military establishment too, that we need, and we can do those things without breaking the budget or weakening the dollar. Now, I know tonight we have a long ways to go to achieve those aims. And I also know Dick Ravitch, rocks or not, can't do it alone. But your recognition this evening of his service and your support for common cause is, I know, a reflection of your understanding that in this country, we still do have the resources, and most especially the human resources, to build bridges, real bridges, but metaphysical bridges as well. Our tradition has been our ability to restore and maintain a strong civil society, a society ultimately able to recognize what needs to be done, somehow finds the means to do it. Dick Ravitch and Common Cause are representative of that tradition. Let me say that tradition is an essential part of our democracy, and I appreciate your participation in this celebration of their dedication, Dick Ravitch, the Council, the Common Cause, and all those others that want to restore and maintain the greatness of this country. Thank you very much.